So, Elder Scrolls 6, everyone's got it on their mind right now, and I did a video saying it'll be okay. Now, this video is going to be about why it will not be okay. Now, number one is the massive issue that Bethesda has is the writing. It can be dull, boring, and a bit unimaginative, and to be honest, playing it safe, such as Starfield Shattered Space, just felt incredibly safe and boring. There wasn't particularly anything to do with the Great Serpent, no mystical, no anything to define the reality of Starfield any further. It was just boring mess of a madman, and it just wasn't good. It really needed some more interesting twists and turns, and really not it needed not to signal what is the issue. And already, like, the story gave itself away within the first act, I feel, and it was basically that premise repeated throughout the story, and I didn't particularly like it, and I saw it coming from a mile away, which is annoying because I think people are getting used to these sort of story tropes from Bethesda, and they're just not getting in that interest anymore. Whereas I think they need to be a little bit more different, a little twists and turns and stuff. So yeah, the writing is going to let the game down if they don't get more writers in. And I think they really need to, really need to do that. They need to have people go a little bit, probably dive back into what made the games great, what stories were great. So they probably need to play some Morrowind and some Oblivion, and a little bit of Skyrim, just to go back and see what they've done and what they could build upon in a different way. And I think that would really help with Bethesda's story writing and stuff. Hell, they're with Xbox. Why wouldn't Xbox hire some like really renowned writers to assist in the writing of the Elder Scrolls? It can only benefit them in the long run, really, and make a lot of people happy with the. I mean, like, make the main quest actually incredibly well written, incredibly interesting characters and stuff like that. Why not do your main focus be a main quest for a change, instead of like it's the last thing you do, but with people saying that the quest is that great that they had to do it because it was good. That kind of praise, is welcome. Why not have that? And the whole premise about that the Elder Scrolls is not played, it's lived in kind of thing, it feels quite weird. Like, yes, I would say I've just played the Elder Scrolls rather than live in it. I don't really, I guess a lot of people, like, once they've done a lot of the quests and stuff and a bit bored, they just start playing a simulation, maybe, of their own life. But I don't think I've never done that. It's mainly been, I like to play, I like to do quests, I like to explore kind of thing, and that seems to be what I play the games for. So they need to make sure that they have the correct direction, that it's not a simulation, but it's like an actual game. You got to make it feel gamey because it's a game, and I think that's there's something that they said about Starfield, I believe, that they got to make sure it doesn't feel gamey, but at the same time, it's a game, it needs to feel gamey. So I think they could have gone wrong there. Number one, the writing needs to be way better. And number two, I feel like the art direction needs a little bit more, changing up. I think it either needs to go with ultra realistic sort of graphics, which Starfield, it's strange. Like, sometimes it's like, yeah, this looks really cool, and then in the next sort of couple of frames, it's like, this looks like your Play-Doh. And it doesn't really work. So they need to try and figure out why. Why does that occur? Maybe it's because the skin texture doesn't have like it doesn't have the correct texture or something. Then it's not being identified properly and rendered correctly. It looks like what do you call it? Like Play-Doh kind of thing, which is strange. It needs to be changed. Like, other people have managed to do it, and their faces of the characters around them don't look like that. Don't look like Play-Doh. Like Red Dead Redemption 2. Looks incredible. I watched it. It's aging, and it's aging quite well, actually, when it comes to like graphics and stuff, which is quite surprising, because I'm pretty sure that was was it an Xbox One era game and PlayStation 3 or 4. I can't remember what PlayStation's run anyway. But yeah, it seems to be, aging quite well, looking at it, looking at the graphics. Whereas compared to now, it's a lot of people have sort of noticed that graphics seem to be going backwards, even though they're trying to improve it, which is rather odd. But yeah, so number two would be graphics. And then number three, they need to, I really don't think they could innovate on the hack and slash kind of aspect of Skyrim and stuff. I don't know how they can, because I really don't think they can, mainly because it's just so simple. You know, it's simple combat and stuff, and that's what combat is. They could add like a probably like a For Honor directional kind of thing, or a what do you call it, Kingdom Come Deliverance kind of combat. But I found that those two combats were a bit like, it's a bit complicated for what I want to do, kind of thing. I do think they need to do something, and I think it's probably they need to. Like in Oblivion, you could just cast magic whenever you want, rather than have it in a hand. I think that sort of limited, so I could have two swords and be able to block stuff. I mean, you could probably there was a mod that allowed you to block when you swung. So if you swung when an enemy is swinging, your swords would hit, and that would cause, if you were dual wielding, to deflect that blow, which I think is a really clever thing to do. Perhaps having that sort of system that if you're dual wielding or with a magic in your one hand and a sword in the other, you can block if you strike at the same time that they're hitting you, which I think would make it a little bit more complex and stuff. Another thing with the gameplay, that the camera. So sometimes I play in first and third person. I think they need to really improve the third person mechanic, because I like to play in third person a lot, because it's an RPG and you customize your character to how you want. So of course I want to look at it, and then sometimes I do want to feel immersed within the in the character and play first person. But I do feel like the third person angle is lacking, whereas there are mods that make it so cool to play in third person, and I do enjoy them. Maybe MCO. Modern combat overall makes the animations look really cool. And that's another thing. Even though they've had this new animation system, it does seem a little bit stiff at times, which is a bit concerning considering it's a new animation system and it should be like really cool. I do think there's a lot they can improve on with the engine in general. So the first thing was first thing engine-wise, like I said, graphics, they do need to improve it. And the second thing is gameplay. They need to just make it more interesting and interactive. And I feel like the more that they go on, like Starfield, I just felt like I was just pointing and shooting. And then if I wanted to use a weapon, there was no weapon variance. So like each dagger would swing the same as a sword or a heavy weapon. And it just made it feel really like hollow and boring, that there's no variance there. The only thing a melee weapon is useful for is if you have a high sort of damage, and that's the weapon you would go for in melee. So yeah, it's they need to make sure the Elder Scrolls 6 has that variance back, which I'm surprised they even removed from Starfield, to be honest. And it makes you think, why would you do that? Why would you get rid of an important aspect of weaponry like that? So it's just like, it makes you wonder about the technical know-how of the sort of game designers there, to be honest. Have they lost something? Because I remember someone talking about like how they take things in and out of the game engine, and I think that someone's taken something out of the engine that doesn't enable them to do that anymore. So I do think they need to reboot that thing in, whatever it was. So yeah. So that's basically like Elder Scrolls 6 will be bad if Bethesda don't improve the writing, they don't improve the graphics, and if they don't improve the gameplay. I think that's yeah, and the writing encompasses like character writing, character flaws, and everything. So they need to do some massive improvements in order to make a great game. And I think they can make a great game if they stick to these three things. Just work on those three things: character writing, story writing, graphics, and then gameplay. As all games are, as just good writing, graphics, and gameplay. If you get that holy trinity of things balanced and cool, then you will have a good game on your hands. I think we've seen it with Space Marine 2, Wukong, Black Myth Wukong, and Stellar Blade and stuff like that. I think people are pretty happy with those games because of those three things. So yeah, that's sort of my 2 cents when it comes to the Elder Scrolls. That it will be bad if there isn't proper writing, graphics, and gameplay. So yeah, that's all from me. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.